Kind Voice Radio.
And welcome to Kind Voice Radio. I'm your host, David Levins, and on a Kind Voice Radio, we try to talk to people who are using their kind voice, sharing the good within, to make our world a better place to live, make it a kinder, more connected place. And our guest today is David Rowen. He's an actor, he's a classically trained singer and pianist, a musical director, and he's doing a really cool charity music project that's very needed in our times. David, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thrilled to have you, and was very touched by this charity music video you guys are making. Can you tell us about that?
Sure, yeah. Thanks so much for your interest. So I recently started a YouTube channel called David Rowen Creative, which I started really as kind of a platform for artistic creativity, to be able to arrange music and collaborate with other artists and just be able to share it with other people. And in light of all that's been happening in our country socially, a couple of months ago, my news feed on Facebook was just kind of flooded with people who are just very upset and saddened by, all that's been happening in the country. And people are saying, we need to do something, we need to take action this time. And, I kind of thought, well, what can I do? How can I take action? How can I, try to make an impact and make a difference? And music, being my number one passion, I was like, well, what's a way that I can use music? And so through my YouTube channel, I decided that I could create a music video that kind of celebrated cultural diversity and unity, and just bringing a lot of different people together for one common goal, to spread a little bit of hope. And with that, that was kind of the creative element in all of it, just to provide some encouragement to people. But then I also wanted to find a way that would make more of a physical impact on society. And so I found this charity, Teen and Police Service Academy, known as TAPS Academy for short. And they are a program that connects at-risk youth and law enforcement to kind of level the playing field, offer a place where they can communicate and talk about different community issues, and just kind of help build a little bit of partnership and trust, which will ultimately lead to safer and more unified communities. So I kind of attached them to this project, and I launched an Indiegogo campaign to raise all of the money to go into making the video, as well as to raise awareness and charity for this organization. So it's kind of the marriage of those two ideas to just try to do something that would make a positive impact on society.
And it's a very beautiful thing you do. And how many people are involved with this project?
There are about 40 people.
Wow.
Around 35 performers, and then then there'll be some crew on set, and that doesn't even include all of the people that I've had to get in touch with to organize everything, and people in the recording studio and this and that.
So this is quite the endeavor. And what is the production going to be?
So we are going to be performing Joyful Joyful, which is this gospel hip-hop R&B medley from the movie Sister Act 2 with Lauryn Hill and Whoopi Goldberg. The song appears at the end of the movie when this choir goes to this competition, and they perform the song, and it leads them to winning the competition. And I actually picked this song because it brings a lot of different things together. The song itself has religious text. It's based off of a poem that was made into a hymn. And in this medley, it interpolates music from Mary J. Blige and Naughty by Nature, two songs from the early 90s. And so it mixes all these different things together. And in the movie, all of the actors that perform in this are all varying types. And it really is about unification and bringing different things coming together for one common goal and succeeding. And so this is actually the first song that I thought of when I wanted to put this project together. I thought that it would be a really cool way to bring it all together in one place. So.
No, it's a very cool thing. What kind of feedback have you got when you approach people to be involved in the project?
Overwhelmingly positive. This song is really kind of a staple, I feel like, in my generation. A lot of my friends are very familiar with the movie and already knew the song by heart. And so anyone that I approached about it even if they weren't available to be a part of the project, were super excited about it and wished that they could. But everyone that's doing it, it made the rehearsal process very easy because everyone was familiar with the song already. And I think that it actually helped bring a nice sense of energy as well, because it's one of those songs that anytime it plays, people are always singing to it, dancing to it. There are some signature moves in the choreography that everyone knows, which will be put in the video. And so, yeah, overall, everyone has just been so excited. It's, in a way, it's our teenage dream come true to be able to perform this song.
You're creating a community, just an event, a single event, a production of this. But in general, how do you see music being able to kind of create a tapestry of community that could impact social change?
I think that music is one of the most powerful tools that we have as human beings. It is something that, transcends, music is something that transcends language. I think that it's something that can be enjoyed by all, regardless of where you're from, what you do, how you speak. It's something that just connects everyone together. And so I think any opportunity to use it to make an impact is great. And I think that even, on the topic of language, if someone that doesn't speak English sees the video, I think that they'll be uplifted by it because, they will see the joy, no pun intended, from the performers interacting together. And so, yeah, I just think that music is very powerful. And so I think it's a great medium to use for making an impact, for sure.
Now, when you sing and people sing in church and synagogue, you have this inner feeling of joy when the words are beautiful and it radiates outward. But when you're choreographing something, it's a different process. Can you talk about the experience of joy you get from choreographing versus from singing solo?
Sure, yeah. So we started out with music rehearsals, learned the song, all the different parts, and then we went into the recording studio and recorded all of it. And then recently we've been working on choreography. If you can think about being at a wedding or some sort of event where there's a dance floor and there's that one song that comes on that everyone knows the dance to, and it brings the amount of people on the dance floor double because everyone wants to go do it. And those parts of these events are always so fun because everyone is doing something that they all know together. And so you're making a connection with people that you may not even know because you're into this dance together. And so this song is a little bit like that because there are moves that everyone remembers from the movie. And we've applied that into the choreography for the video. And so, I think anytime you do something as a group, anytime you do something when everyone is doing the same thing, it definitely develops a sense of community and makes it more fun. So putting this all together, all of my friends in this are people that I know from different areas of my life. And
wow,
so they're all
cool.
now connected. Yeah, they're all now connected in a different way. And, everyone has this mutual thing to connect with. And seeing everyone interact even through choreography has been great.
Wow. And this is a beautiful event you created. The event in itself is beautiful. And performing something on stage connects with a living audience. But by putting it on your YouTube channel, you're hoping to scale this and connect with a bigger audience. Can you talk about the impact you're hoping in a world without boundaries that this video will have and what you're doing to make it happen? Yeah,
so that is one of the cool things about this day and age of being able to produce online content that, can reach many more people. You don't have to have people show up somewhere to see, a performance, but you can record it and share it for everyone to see. It can be seen all around the world. And, hopefully it does make its way. I don't know how far the reach will be. I'd love for it to go as far as it can, just because I think that it promotes a good message. And I think that it all kind of starts, with me and putting my channel out there. All the people in the video I know will be happy to share it. And it's just kind of one of those, when things get shared online, it's just kind of a domino effect. One person shares it, the next person that reaches it shares it, and so on and so forth. So if it is something that is captivating and engaging and thoughtful, then I think it's more likely that people will share it. And so hopefully it will ultimately have a nice reach.
So you're focused on creating something beautiful and hope that the ecosystem of the internet will take care of the rest.
For sure. And I will definitely share it with, larger media outlets, if they're interested in sharing it. Because ultimately, I will hope that people will be directed to TAPS Academy, learn about that program, and help that grow as well.
Yeah, I mean, this works on so many different levels. And can we talk a little bit more about TAPS Academy? Because it seems there's a big problem right where we are now, and TAPS is kind of going upstream to try to build relationships so that these horrific stories don't keep reoccurring. Can you talk a little bit more in detail about what TAPS does?
Sure, yeah. So, as we all know, there's a lot happening in the country that is just causing, it's just kind of social and political division. There are people that, live in fear just because of the way they look or because of their job. And, I don't think anyone should have to live with that kind of fear. Not in this day and age, not in the U.S. And so what TAPS does is just kind of connecting. They kind of promote what's considered community policing, which is helping the officers and the community get to know each other and establish connections and develop real relationships so that when they're out in the community, they recognize the people that they're serving. And it kind of is to dismantle stereotypes and prejudices. And so in these classes, each week is devoted to something different. There may be a day where they talk about gang violence, or they talk about, just different community issues. And you'll see that, the first day of this program, there's definitely a divide between the youth and the police officers. And it's all based on, these preconceived notions, based on what they've seen in the media. And it's just the stereotypes are very apparent. And so as each week goes on and they spend more personal time with one another, you kind of see those walls broken down. And, I've heard stories of them crying on each other's shoulders. They're talking about each other's families. They're eventually exchanging numbers. And there's one story that I heard where there was a group of teens that had either stolen a car or were in a car that was reported stolen. Whatever the case, they were pulled over by some officers. And one of the boys in the car said, "Oh no, Sergeant so-and-so is going to be so upset with me." And, this was a kid who had done the TAPS program, had made this personal connection with this sergeant. And the officers at the scene were kind of like, "Wait, what did you say?" And he explained that he had gone through this program and that he knew this sergeant. So they ended up getting the sergeant on the phone, and he got to talk to him, and it essentially de-escalated the whole situation. I don't know how it would have turned out, but I just know that the outcome was more positive, and they were able to work through it as opposed to, what could have been. So that's just an example of how the program and developing these relationships can really affect the community. And, I think that it makes a huge difference when you know someone and your perception of them. You could see anyone on the street and think this or that about them, but when you meet them, your whole perception might be changed. There's only so much you can know about someone just by seeing them. And so I think that when you actually get to know them, it makes a difference. Even if you don't even really like someone, having some sort of personal connection to them will make you more fond of them. And so I think that this program helps in creating that between police and their communities, just so that there's overall a safer, more communal and inviting environment.
Wow, you just stated that so beautifully and clearly. It's such a good thing, and I do believe that there's a lot of bad out there, but I think one act at a time will start to build critical mass where the good starts to outweigh the bad, and real social change will come about. Do you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. I think that it, has the potential to spread, and I think that it's great that they're starting with the youth because they are, the next generation. If they're able to mend relationships with police officers at a young age, that can transcend, as generations come and go. If these youth can grow up to not be afraid, then they won't be teaching their children fear. There are people now where parents, for me, even being a black male, there's certain things that I think about that the average person may not, just because I know that I might be perceived a certain way. You know, I might think twice before I wear a black hoodie somewhere, which sounds crazy, but it's the reality. And so the goal is to get to a place where, like, none of that matters, you know, where people are not, you know, don't have these assumptions about you. And so it's really just kind of about changing the story and really striving for a better community.
So eloquently said and so true. We have the reality as it is, but we're not accepting that. We're trying to get something better for everybody. We need to take our first break, and we'll be right back after this.
All right.
The alchemy of kindness is one that we believe. When we reach out to each other, you know we both receive.
Hi, I'm Bruce Grammel, one of the original hosts on A Kind Voice Radio. My song, The Alchemy of Kindness, is about the good things that happen when kind voices come together. What you're about to hear is a message from Claire Bloom, who is using her kind voice to feed hungry children. We hope that you'll help Claire with her mission and make our world a kinder, more connected place, one act at a time.
Hi, I'm Claire Bloom. In 2011, I started End 68 Hours of Hunger in an effort to overcome childhood hunger right here in America. There are more than 16 million children in America who are hungry between the free lunch they get in school on Friday and the free breakfast they get in school on Monday. And what we know is that if we feed these children on the weekend, they can achieve 50% higher reading scores, 30% higher math scores, and are twice as likely to successfully complete the third grade, which is a primary indicator of high school graduation. To find out more, I'd love for you to be in contact with me. We have a website at www.end68hoursofhunger.org, or you can email me directly at end68hoursofhunger@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you.
A Kind Voice Radio.
And welcome back to Kind Voice Radio. I'm your host, David Levins, and we just heard from Claire Bloom. She's a retired Navy officer living in Dover, New Hampshire. And she saw this need in her hometown to help hungry children, and she created this program. And the program is spread to over 40 cities across the country, and she doesn't take a dime for her work, and she just wants to make a difference. And very similar to the story of our guest today, David Rowen, who's trying to make a difference in a different way, but use his kind voice to make a big impact in a very needed area. David, welcome back to the program.
Thanks so much.
Now, I was really touched by the eloquent way you spoke about the problem and the solution you're trying to build. And there's a way for people to get involved in what you're trying to do. You created a crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo, and we have a link right in the show description. Can you tell the people about your crowdfunding campaign and how to get involved?
Sure, yeah. So it's a fundraiser on Indiegogo. As you mentioned, the link is below. On the page, there's a video that explains the whole project, and there's a whole description that gives a little bit more detail. And the campaign ended last month, but because it was successfully fundraised, the Indiegogo platform has this program called In Demand. So any fundraiser that is successfully funded can go into this and continue to be funded. So if anyone is still drawn to donate and to contribute, you still can. And it will just go toward defraying the cost of putting this production on. And if there are any other outstanding costs after the fact, it would be super helpful. So if anyone would still like to do that, you can. And any donation that's received, a portion of that also goes to TAPS Academy. So any donation is kind of hitting two birds with one stone.
And can you give the people a feel for the status of this project now? I believe you started rehearsing, huh?
Yes. So we started rehearsing in mid-September, and we actually shoot the video in just a couple of days. So we have one more rehearsal, and then we shoot the video. So we're right on the edge here, and then it'll take a couple of weeks to edit it and all of that. And so I hope that the video will be released late October or early November. So you kind of caught me kind of at the perfect time, actually.
I like that.
Right near the end. Yeah.
Now, do you see any potential follow-ups to this project?
I mean, I know that I will stay in contact with Taps Academy. I would love to continue helping them any way that I can. If it leads to anything more, then I would love to expand on it. If there's any way that, if it sparks interest in Taps Academy, I'm happy to help people to learn about it and see, if it can be expanded. Their goal is to get into more cities. They did a pilot program here in New York City earlier this year, and so they have to jump through some hoops with the NYPD, but their hope is to have a full-fledged program here, and if that does happen, I would love to be involved. And so if this project is able to bring to light more about this program and kind of gain some interest, I would love to see how it can develop and grow from there.
Good deal. Now, I'd like to kind of unpack something you said earlier. You saw the need to do something to make a positive social change. Can you walk us through what exactly the spark was to do this video? Did you have a list of projects you were trying to decide between, or did this just jump out at you? And then kind of the journey from the spark to how you turned it into reality.
Sure, yeah. So I have one of kind of my side gigs is arranging music. I arrange music for a cappella groups, for different singers, to perform. And that was part of the inspiration for creating this YouTube channel in the first place, as a way to be able to use these arrangements and create more arrangements to perform them with other people. So anytime I listen to a song, I'm always kind of listening to it with a creative ear and thinking, how could I make this unique? How could I put a spin on it? And so I constantly have a list of songs, that I've thought of recreating in some way. And so when this idea came up, it was just kind of something that I added to that list. And so when I recognized the need, or really saw that people wanted to take a more physical action, that was the first thing I went to was music. I just know that it can be really impactful. Everyone can relate to it. So I thought, how can I use that to give back in a way? And so it almost seemed like too big of a thing. when I first started the channel, I knew that certain things that I would produce would cost some money, but I never wanted to raise money because I don't like people for money because that just makes me uncomfortable, and I never wanted to be like, hey, give me some money so that I can make this. Even though the people would enjoy it, I'm sure, it just, the idea of it made me uncomfortable. But when I was putting this together and realized that, just had kind of a mission behind it, that put me a little bit at ease. I knew that if I wanted to do it, I was going to have to raise money, and kind of having it mean something and have a social impact definitely made it easier to ask people for money. Although campaigning itself was its own challenge.
So I'd like to just highlight what you just said about how the mission was more important to you than your own comfort level, and that's how it helped you get past your discomfort with it. Is that correct?
100%. Yeah. I mean, if it were something that were just for me, I don't think that I would have gone for it. But I knew that, this ultimately was something bigger at stake and, could positively affect our country. And I thought that that's something that people would be able to get behind. And, and I think that knowing that their donations not only supported a creative project, but also go toward Taps Academy would be more appealing. And so that's kind of, set up. It was still nerve-wracking when I first launched the campaign. It was, every little step is like, you don't know how people are going to respond to it. Maybe it will be successful. Through the whole campaign process, I definitely had doubt. There were times when I was like, I'm never going to raise, we're not going to get there, and this whole project is gonna crash and burn, and and so definitely it was not easy, but it was. I definitely learned a lot, and it was interesting. In the final week of the campaign, I was actually when we had the first rehearsal, and I remember talking to the cast about, how much more money we needed, and, if they were willing to reach out to anyone, like they had my support, and it was great. And so in that final week, I actually a couple weeks out from the ending of the campaign, I was really concerned. I was like, we're only like halfway through, and we're more than halfway through the campaign, and I just don't know where this money's going to come from. I felt like I had reached out to just about everyone I knew, and I had reached out to different organizations and websites to see if they'd be willing to share it. And but then in that final week, there was still a decent amount of money to raise. But for some reason, I was way more at ease than I ever was. I think that first rehearsal and seeing everyone's energy and excitement about the project kind of revved me up and gave me kind of a new dose of hope. And I was just sure that it was going to happen. I'm not really sure what that was, but I was more confident than I ever had been, and it was kind of, and it was the 11th hour with still about $3,000 that I needed to raise. And, but, thankfully, over the next few days, I did a hard push in campaigning. I created a little video that featured some footage from rehearsal, which got people really excited, and, shared all over Facebook. And, within a few days, we ended up reaching the goal. And, and it was in that moment that I was like, wow, this is definitely happening. And, there's no turning back. Not that I ever wanted to, but it was just kind of that assurance. And, it was very exciting. So
it's a beautiful thing you're doing, and it's very clear from the video that you're doing this for an authentic reason.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. We're going to take a quick break for a good news report, and we'll be right back after this.
Hi everyone, this is Tasha Rollins with your Good News Report of the Week. This week's story is really cool. It comes from Woodbridge, Virginia, where a 29-year-old woman named Lauren Puryear is taking the new craze called extreme couponing to a new level. She's using her couponing skills to buy groceries cheap and a lot of times for free so that she can help feed the homeless. The process is not as easy as you may think, though. It involves rounding up numerous copies of the Sunday circular coupons, finding coupons online, and enlisting friends and family to scour for deals as well. Then once the coupons are located and cut and matched up to the stores, she then hits the stores to shop. Once all the food is stockpiled, she turns them into tasty, healthy meals for the local homeless population. And she's not just making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches either. She creates dishes like spaghetti and meatballs, baked chicken with rice, or cold-cut sandwiches. Once she has all the food compiled, she sets up tables and serves the dishes right on the street to any unsheltered people in need of food, serving about 100 to 500 people at a time. So far, she's fed over 5,000 people on a shoestring budget through extreme couponing. Although Lauren works a full-time job, she makes feeding the homeless a priority in her life. Due to the demand, she has decided to enlist help from her friends and family as well, and has decided to start her own organization called For the Love of Others. The organization helps people in need through various community outreach events. So I know you're wondering, where did she get this idea? Well, it all started a few years back after the passing of her grandmother. Her grandmother would stop and talk to homeless people all the time to find out if they were okay, and Lauren says, I felt it was my obligation to keep her legacy going. And Lauren says that she hopes to feed 30,000 people by her 30th birthday on September 14, 2017. According to Lauren, the most common response she hears from the diners is, thank you. This is the first meal we've had in a couple of days. The reason I wanted to share this story with you is because it's a story of giving and a story of compassion. Many of us take eating food every day for granted, and some of us waste food, not realizing that there are people that don't eat for days at a time because they can't afford food. I hope this story has inspired you to get involved in either donating to Lauren's organization to help her continue to feed people, or to even donate food to your local food bank, or better yet, start your own movement to help feed the hungry. If you would like to see some pictures of Lauren and her helpers, please feel free to visit our blog at www.akindvoice.org/each-one-reach-one. And if you would like to donate to Lauren's organization and learn more about the work she is doing, please visit the For the Love of Others page on Facebook. I hope this story has not only inspired you, but moves you to take action to help those in need around you. I leave you with a quote of the week from Mother Teresa. If you can't feed 100 people, then just feed one. Thank you all for listening to this report, and I hope that it has inspired and uplifted you today. Have a wonderful rest of the week, everyone.
Kind Voice Radio.
And welcome back to Kind Voice Radio. I'm your host, David Levins, and Tasha's story about Lauren kind of featured the interconnectivity of the good, how Lauren got the idea from her grandmother and is building it out to new levels and really being very creative. So there's good news going on all over. And if you have some good news going on in your community, email us at goodnews@akindvoice.org, and we can feature it on our program. We're here talking with David Rowen about the good story he's created. David, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
David, I'm so touched by the journey of this. And you talked about the spark and working through it, and it seems like you really found your voice during this process.
For sure, yeah. I mean, when I initially put this all together and I knew that I wanted to attach some sort of organization or charity, I actually didn't know which one. And it's interesting because in all that's been happening in the country, and I had, we need a program where police officers get to know the people in their community so that, they see each other as friends and fellow community members and not as some sort of threat, and vice versa. I think this is something that goes both ways. And so I think so many people nowadays see an officer and are automatically fearful. They wonder, am I doing something wrong? Or something around here going wrong? Why is there a police officer here? And, people shouldn't have to feel that way. And, so it's a two-way street of trying to reverse this. And I didn't know that a program like that existed, but, in my whole thought process about it, I was like, well, I just feel like if these officers knew these people, then some of these situations wouldn't have escalated the way they did. And if people had known these officers, the way they reacted to them would have been different. And I was actually visiting some family in Florida earlier this summer, and my uncle runs a communications and strategic marketing company in Tampa, and he works with TAP, and is actually one of his best friends. That's the co-founder. And when I was there visiting, this was right after some recent events had happened, and we were talking about it, and he brought up this program, and I was like, whoa, I have always thought we needed something like this. I just didn't know it actually existed. As far as I was concerned, I was going to have to start it myself. And so I was so encouraged to hear about this. And this was right after I had thought about doing this project. Nothing had really been put in motion yet, but it was just an idea. And so as soon as I heard about this, excited, I was like, oh, this is definitely the one, if it works out. And so I reached out to the founder, Dr. Everett Penn. TAP's Academy is actually based in Houston, but they're branching out into more cities, including Tampa, where my uncle lives. And, I talked to him about the project and what I had in mind and how I thought that it could benefit the program and hopefully help it, expand. Just at least people knowing about it would be beneficial, and just being able to raise some money for it. And he was very excited about it. He jumped right on board, and it was just everything kind of fell into place better than I would have expected. And, because I wasn't sure where I was going to go in terms of supporting an organization. And this just kind of fell into my lap. And it was something that I, think their mission is super valuable and important. And it's something that I had always wanted to exist, but didn't know that it did. So it just kind of, in a way, it was kind of a sign. It was just laid right there before me, and I seized the opportunity as soon as I could.
I mean, it's such a neat story how you took the first steps and you saw new things opening up. Now, as far as the cast goes, how did you connect with them? Did you call your friends, or did you do a social media thing?
So a few people, I talked to them in person and kind of said, hey, I kind of have this idea. This is what I'm thinking of doing, and just to kind of gauge, their perspective and interest. And people thought it was great. And so when it was getting down to actually asking people to do it, I just sent an email that, explained the project and what I had in mind and how I wanted them to be involved. And that's really just where it started. And, a majority of the people that I asked to do it were willing and available. They were giving up their time and talent for free. No one is being paid to do it. Everyone is volunteering to do this. And so I it was a little bit overwhelming to have so many people say yes and offer their time and commitment to this. So yeah, it was great. And all the people in the video are people that I know primarily through theater. A lot of them I've done shows with them. Some of them I went to college with. Others I've just met through different theater communities. And that's just kind of what brought them all together. And they're, people that I performed with regionally. Some of them are Broadway performers. And so it's a nice mix of people.
It's such a cool journey. It's going to have a big domino effect. It's a great thing you guys are all doing, yourself and everybody involved. Now, do you have any projects that you look up to as shining examples of a project that created social change?
It's interesting. I recently had an audition for a show called Motown, and it was for the character Marvin Gaye. And I had to sing his song, What's Going On. And this is the first time that I had heard the song since I've been doing all of this, and it kind of had a whole new meaning to me. I feel like there's so many oldies and Motown songs that or at least that I know, but maybe never really paid attention to what the lyrics meant, just music that I heard growing up. And, hearing about mothers crying and these brothers dying and just the lyrics kind of hit me in a different way. I was like, wow, everything about this is still so relevant right now. And even some of the scenes that I read from the show, it could be set in modern day and it would still be relevant. Cool to know and remember that there are artists, in the past that were trying to use their music as activism, as a way to make a difference and make people think about what's really happening and trying to change that.
Very, very cool. Now, as an actor, you play characters and you play roles. Now, in real life, you're playing a role of choreographing and bringing this wonderful project together. Does your experience as an actor playing fictional roles or even real roles help you in this role?
Yeah, it definitely is. I think that performing in general and acting definitely gives you, I think it helps in being able to interact with other people. And, even if it may be an uncomfortable situation, you can, you kind of have the ability to appear calm and at ease. And so in dealing with every different aspect of putting this together, I think that it definitely helps. And having the experience of in college, I was a music director of an a cappella group and music director of some production. So I have experience of teaching music and choreography to large groups of people and, knowing how to run rehearsals and knowing how to manage time in a recording studio when you're dealing with a large ensemble. So there are definitely experiences that I've had in the past that have certainly prepared me for putting this all together. And, without those experiences, I'm sure this would have been an even harder endeavor. So it's, thinking about this now, I think it's great that these past experiences have kind of prepared me even just for this one project.
Very cool. And who knows what this project will prepare you for. Now, we need to take a final break, and we'll be right back after this.
This is NASCAR driver Kurt Busch, and I am proud to support our nation's veterans. Do you know you can get a faster decision on your disability compensation claims by filing an electronic fully developed claim, or e-claim, on eBenefits? Take it from a guy who lives his life in the fast lane. Faster is better. Visit ebenefits.va.gov today to learn more.
There's nothing wrong with reaching out when you need. I'll be there for you, and maybe you can be for me. With a kind voice, a few kind words, an open ear for when you need to be heard, a warm heart, we can make that choice to be a kind voice.
Hi, I'm Dominic Damaski, and I'd like to thank you for listening to A Kind Voice Radio. This is a place where we have conversations with an eclectic group of people who are using their kind voices to help make our world a kinder, more connected place. If you'd like to add your kind voice to the conversation, we are currently looking for new program hosts, producers, and bloggers. For more information, please check out the Using Your Kind Voice tab on our website, outkindvoice.org. If you or someone you know happen to be creating a good story, we'd love to have you on our program. Please go to the radio menu at outkindvoice.org and click on the show that best connects with your story. Then scroll down and click the guest information link. Thanks again for listening. And remember, please use your kind voice to make a difference and make somebody happy today.
Kind Voice Radio.
Welcome back to Kind Voice Radio. I'm your host, David Levins. David, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Good deal. And on your YouTube channel, you have a spectacular version of the Star-Spangled Banner. Can you talk about that song and the production of it?
Sure. I have, over the years, arranged different versions of the Star-Spangled Banner for different groups, whether it's all male, for a full, co-ed group, and I've always wanted to do an arrangement for 4 guys, and anytime I thought about doing a YouTube channel, which is actually something that I had thought about doing for years and never got around to, I knew that I always wanted to release a version of the Star-Spangled Banner as a male quartet around the holiday. And it ended up being the first video that I posted for the channel. And I was able to do that with my friends Jake Odemark, Adam Roberts, and Kevin DeJesus Jones. And it was a new arrangement that I'd done. I had actually had an arrangement done years ago, but I was like, one day I'm gonna sing this arrangement with some people. And when it actually came around, I went back to the arrangement and was like, I think I can improve upon this. And I ultimately ended up creating basically a brand new arrangement just for this performance. And it was great. It was kind of because of everyone's schedule, we didn't actually have a lot of time to put it together. So we had, 1 or 2 rehearsals and then filmed it within just a matter of days. Everyone just kind of had a few days that they were available, and we fit it all in right there. And it was great to be able to do. It was fun to have people that are talented enough to learn it quickly and to be able to start the channel with that song. As a military brat, my dad was in the Army for 27 years, and so kind of Americana music is something that I've always really loved. It's definitely something that reminds me of growing up, and it reminds me of my family. And so ultimately, it was a great song to be able to launch my YouTube channel with.
And it's a beautiful rendition of it, and we have a link to it right in the show description. David, so you do many different things. You have the YouTube channel. Can you tell the folks about all the different things you do?
Sure. I'm an actor. I work primarily as a musical theater performer. So I sing and dance as well. And I studied music in college. I studied voice and piano and music industry. And so when I'm not doing an acting gig, I work at a restaurant in New York City. I spend some time working as a personal assistant. And on the side, I do different musical things, arranging music for different groups, or kind of doing like audition coaching, and I record accompaniment tracks for people to rehearse with, different things like that. But lately, this project and the YouTube channel has definitely taken up most of my free time. Those are all kinds of the little things that I dabble in on a day-to-day basis.
Just the little things. You're like a Renaissance man. You're doing so many different things. Can you talk about the different satisfaction from playing music versus acting versus choreographing and directing?
Sure. All 3 are things that I always loved growing up. I actually initially wanted to be a recording artist, be a singer who danced, and it wasn't until I was in, and I did some theater growing up, but it wasn't until I was in college that I actually considered it as a viable career option. And that's just kind of where life led me, was in a career for the musical theater. And it's great being able to put all 3 of these things together. Singing and doing music has always been my favorite thing to do. But I've always enjoyed, being on stage, acting and dancing. So being able to put them all together is great, and it provides a great amount of variety from show to show. There's certain shows where, I am primarily acting and singing. There's some shows where I do a lot more dancing. So it's nice to be able to have, that mix and to, change it up every now and then.
What is the ultimate vision for the YouTube channel?
Sure. So ultimately it's a place for me to be creative musically and to collaborate with other people. I always want other people to be involved. It doesn't mean that I'll never, do my own thing on there, but for the most part, there'll always be other people involved in these videos. And, I love singing with other people and making music with other people. And so that kind of sense of community is very important to me for this. And I hope to, I just want that roster of people to grow and grow. Sure, there'll be some people that you'll see in more than one video, but ultimately I want, each video to showcase someone new. So that kind of community aspect is very important to me, as well as just creating something fun and unique that I think people will enjoy. I'd love to inspire other people that might want to do a similar thing, or just people that enjoy music. I'd never expected to have any sort of charity or social project involved like this, but it's definitely opened that door, and I would love to continue to do more of that as well. If I can attach different things to the channel to help promote things that I'm passionate about, I think that's great. I had also even thought, if the channel has enough reach to, try to get involved with arts in school. It's just one of those things that people often want to cut out of education, and I think people, don't realize that the arts are important, and so I'd, love to be able to help promote that as well.
And can you give people in your own voice why you feel the arts are so important?
Sure. I think that it's a huge part of in any society. You always find music. At least I can't think of any culture that doesn't have music, and it's used for different things. It's a way that brings people together. It's very emotional. It's a way to express yourselves, to can really impact people in different ways. It's great for kind of like physical and mental development. Music exercises, different parts of your brain that are great, and you find different connections to music and how that's benefited someone's intelligence. And it's also a great escape for people to kind of forget about worries of life. People can go see a show and just kind of escape from their lives for a time. And that's kind of
very
an
well
overall
said.
kind of a broad thing. But yeah, I think that it has many benefits to society overall.
Now we're coming to the end of our time, so I want to remind people to check out the Indiegogo link and the other links in the show description, because you've got a lot going on. But is there anything I haven't asked that you'd like to share with our audience?
I don't think so. I think we've covered a lot here.
I like that. Thank you so much for coming on. It's a great thing you're doing, and I wish you all the best with it.
Thanks so much for having me. I had a great time.
Good deal. And that was David Rowen. And check out the links. He's got so much going on. This is such an incredible project that's going to make such a difference. Now, I'd like to thank Yolanda Riley, our producer, for organizing this show, and Tasha Rollins for the Good News Report to remind us there's good stuff going on, and especially our guest, David Rowen, for coming on and sharing his great story. And that's it for today's program. This is David Levins asking you to go out and use your kind voice to make a difference in somebody's life. I want to close with Joshua Rich, The Tapestry of Love and Sound.
Here in our garden, we gather, share all that's inside of us, how much we care, find strength in our differences, and reach common ground, celebrate our unity in a tapestry of loving sound. Make a kind choice with your kind voice, and united we will find our kind voices inside would sing out in unity, creating community and bringing us together as one. Some of us make movies, some of us sing songs, some find forgiveness for a choice that was wrong. Some of us feed children, some help people in need. And all of us in our own way are planting a loving seed. When we make a kind choice with our kind voice and united, we find our kind voices inside, which sing out in unity, creating community and bringing us together as one. And each moment brings on changes, and each change helps us to see that we're all of us a part of our sweet humanity. And we each bring something special as we cultivate our soul, while the kindness deep within us makes us whole. Make a kind choice with your kind voice, and united we'll find our kind voices inside, which sing out in unity, creating community and bringing us together as one. Creating community and bringing us together as one. Make a kind choice with your kind voice.
Especially when we're talking online degree courses.
Well, we're at an exciting time, and you certainly have been very helpful in helping us think about moving on into the educational arena to be able to take additional courses and upgrade our skills. This has been so exciting to have you lend your voice to this conversation, Phil. Can you tell our listeners for a moment how they might be able to get in contact with you should they have any further questions related to academic resiliency or moving forward as a mature student?
Absolutely. I've got a ton of resources that I can give to somebody. Probably the best way to get a hold of me is through email, and that would be educational.cqi@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Phil, for joining us so much. Next week, our guest will be an individual, Denise Serrata. She is from an organization called One World Everybody Eats, and she has been able to be successful with starting community cafes in which you can come and eat fully for whatever price you can pay. Pay what you can restaurant. So we're going to be talking again along our series of Game Changers with Denise Serrata of One World Everybody Eats. So we hope that you will join us again next Tuesday. That will be November 26th, same time, same channel, at A Kind Voice on Employment, Innovation, and Opportunity. This is Dr. V. Mayfield signing off. Please go to Facebook, and you can connect with me on Facebook. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn under Dr. V. M. Mayfield, and you'll find me on Twitter, also V. M. Mayfield. Look forward to talking with you all soon. Take care. God bless.
Someone else can be just what you need to hear. With a kind voice, a few kind words, an open ear for when you need to be heard, a warm heart. You can make that choice to find a kind voice. Yes, we're different, look at you and me. Both have questions, both have answers, both have needs. And though most likely we will often disagree, we can just keep talking, maybe find that we can be a kind voice, a few kind words, an open ear for when you need to be heard, a warm heart. We can make that choice to be a kind voice. There's nothing wrong with reaching out when you need. I'll be there for you, and maybe you can be for me. With a kind voice, a few kind words, an open ear for when you need to be heard, a warm heart. We can make that choice to be a kind voice, a few kind words, an open ear for when you need to be heard, warm heart. We can make that choice to be a kind voice.